Hey guys, it's Peyton, and today I'm going to be talking about 6 books that literally destroyed my life, but in a beautiful way. And what does that really mean? They made me cry a lot. I felt emotionally ruined, like I was dead. It's just too much for me at this point. And why did I pick 6 books? Because I'm annoying like that. And I couldn't just stick with 5. Apparently, I needed to add that last one just to spice it up. So this video is about to be a big rant of me freaking out about books that have literally killed me, and you probably can relate. A lot of these are super popular and I just need to talk about my feelings and die a little bit. Comment down below if you relate to any of these feelings I'm discussing, because there's a lot of pain in this video. It really hurts. The first book that you've probably already heard of and read is Crescent City by Sarah J. Maas. It's actually House of Earth and Blood, but for some reason the publishers decided to make the actual title of the book really small on the cover. I don't understand. Like, why is the author's name bigger than the actual title? But I'm obsessed with this book. There's a lot of people that hate it. There's a lot of people that love it. I'm one of the lovers. I literally have a whole vlog of my freaking out reaction to this book, and here's literally a picture of me sobbing after finishing it. It destroyed my life, hence why it's in this video. It's a Sarah J. Maas book, so you probably think I read it for some crazy plot and weird magic. No, I read this book for the smutty romance like everybody else. Okay, let's be real. That's what most people are here for. And let me just tell you, this book does not deliver. It is free of the smut between the two characters that we would want it for. It literally is disrespectful in every regard. All we pretty much got between our two characters is a little bit of a kissing scene after an 800-page book. If you don't realize this is 800 pages, like, they use Bible pages for Sarah J. Maas at this point because she writes too many words. I read an 800-page book and I was so involved in this romance, and I didn't even get anything. If the second one doesn't deliver on that department, I don't know how I'm gonna survive. You can't give me that much suspense, that much romantic tension and banter, and then not give me that, okay? But there's so many other reasons why this book destroyed me. I actually really enjoyed the plot of this book. It follows our main character, Bryce Quinlan. She is half fae, half human, and she lives in this urban fantasy-esque high fantasy world. Like, it's so hard to explain, but it feels like urban fantasy, but it's actually high fantasy because it's in a completely different world. Bryce has been through it because all of her best friends were murdered like 2 years ago. It's in the description, so I'm not spoiling you, but they were murdered viciously, like torn to pieces years ago, to the point where, you know, they're dead. Like, obviously they're dead. There was a murderer thrown in jail, but when 2 years later, the same type of murders with the weird, like, tearing you apart like little chunks thing keeps happening, they realize that the murderer is actually still out there. And since Bryce has been so distraught over this, to find out the murderer that actually killed her best friend is still out there takes over her world. She has to find the real killer, and she teams up with hottie Hunt Athalar. He is a fallen angel. He's been serving this other archangel, and he has to kill as many people as that dude tells him to. That's just a fun fact about Hunt Athalar. But he's hot. They team up. They're like a detective duo, and they're trying to figure out what happened to her best friend. It's like a murder mystery vibe book with just the cutest freaking relationship. They hate each other first, and then they're friends, and then you can kind of tell like the romantic tension is starting to get there. And I just also really enjoyed the world. It's 800 pages and I didn't feel like it dragged at all. When the book ended and all the emotional traumatic experiences start happening to the characters, it destroys me. Plain and simple. Dead. So Mockingjay is the next book that absolutely destroyed my life. Even to this day. I read this for the first time in middle school and I continue to reread it, and it destroys me. And if you've been on my channel for a while and know about how this is my favorite series, it's the 3rd one in the series, The Hunger Games, you know why. Finnick Odair. I will not dive into that further because, you know, spoilers if you haven't already read it. You definitely should. But Finnick Odair, yeah, like that. I literally threw my book across the room at the end of this book. Like, I actually threw it at the wall. Like, it's a torn up book. I even dropped it like in the pool. But it's still living. It's still living to this day. It's still alive. And, you know, some people aren't still alive from this book. Like, Okay, bye. So I don't even really think I need to explain this trilogy, but it's pretty much futuristic America where a bunch of kids are thrown into an arena for the weird entertainment of them fighting to the death, obviously for the entertainment of the crazy weird people from the government. Like, why did they ever think that was a cute and fun idea? I have no idea, but it's disgusting. I've read this book 3 times and it has never failed to destroy my life for at least a week. I'm always thinking about it, but when I first like reread this book, it's just over. I'm game over. It's just, I can't compute anything else in my life other than this book and what happened in it. From being mad about Finnick swooning over Peeta and literally hating Gale so much I could do a lot of things, and bowing down to our queen, Katniss Everdeen, this book has so many reasons to cry. It's a lot. This book is often the least favorite book for a lot of people in this trilogy, but I personally think it's really underrated. The way that this book deals with political commentary that I barely even understand because I'm too stupid for that is beautiful, and the way Katniss freaking stands up for herself and the entire world pretty much. Her bravery and her just determination and just everything about that woman is amazing. She is one of my favorite characters of all time. The best character in this entire series, and I know I talk about Finnick and Peeta so much, but Katniss Everdeen is the best character in this whole trilogy, and she could kill me and I'd thank her. Also, another reason this book destroys me every time is the epilogue. The epilogue is so freaking gorgeous and beautiful. I will not spoil it, but it's everything you would have ever freaking wanted, and I can't get over it. Every time I read it, the lines, all the quotes, and everything, it just ties in together and it's just beauty. Straight beauty. It's beautiful. The next book that destroyed me is a recent favorite. It's Monday's Not Coming by Tiffany D. Jackson. I actually listened to the audiobook of this. That's why there's no tabs, but one day I will reread it and annotate it. This book was one of those books that blew my mind so much when I finished it that all I could do was sob and think about what I was gonna do with the rest of my life without this book. It's about a young girl named Claudia. Every summer she goes with her grandparents and she writes letters to her best friend named Monday. I guess they didn't have cell phones. I don't know when this book is set, but they didn't have phones. They would write letters to each other every summer, but this summer, Monday has not sent her a single letter back. And she just thinks it's just something weird, like maybe she got busy or something. So when she comes back and Monday is nowhere to be found, she doesn't go to school, nothing's happening. She keeps asking Monday's family about her and they're telling her nothing. They're telling her all of these different answers. Obviously somebody's lying and no one seems to care that Monday is missing. Claudia is determined to find out what happened to her best friend because she knows Monday would not just abandon her and not tell her what was going on. This is just one of those books that sucks you in. There's multiple timelines in it. That just makes it even more heartbreaking, and you get more and more scared as the book goes on about what could have happened to Monday. And the reality of what happened is a hard pill to swallow, and I highly recommend this book. Just know that there's very heavy topics in it. It's a lot. But I was mind blown by it. I will think about this book for a long time because it's just crazy and I would love to reread it already. I literally read it like 2 months ago. Before we get into the next book, you should definitely like this video. It helps me out so much, so I would really appreciate it. But the next book that destroyed my life in such a gorgeous way is Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. This is a new adult romance book. It's gay and it's lovely and it's just so well done. If you can't tell, I actually have a reading vlog on this as well where I just died inside. It's one of my favorite books of all time at this point and I cannot wait to reread it. I know a lot of people don't like long romance books, but for me it just added the depth to the characters to the point where I was so behind the romance because I really got to know them and I was really behind the chemistry. It just gave everything enough time for me to fall in love with it the way I wanted to. This book is pretty much everything I needed and more. It's in a land without Trump. A female president has arisen. It's about her son, Alex Claremont Diaz, and he's finishing up college. He wants to follow in the footsteps of his mother. He wants to be some sort of politician. Everything's fun and cute until he has to attend the royal wedding where Prince Henry is there, and they have had a feud for years with each other for some reason, and during this wedding they get in a little freaking argument and knock over like the thousands upon thousands of dollars wedding cake in front of everybody, and it makes headlines. So what happens is their PR teams decide that they need to publicly become friends, so they have to do several outings together to make this whole thing look better. It's pretty much enemies to friends to lovers, and it's the cutest thing in the world. And Alex, he actually has always thought he was straight. This book is a lot of him discovering his sexuality and thinking maybe he is bisexual, and I really thought that was a great thing as well. And I just loved Henry and Alex together so much. And it's also interesting because this book has a lot of haters. I see a lot of people trashing it all the time. I don't get it, but I will respect your opinion. It just destroyed me emotionally, and I will always love this book. But there's also a lot of people who love it, so I'm one of those bitches. The next book I really need to rant about with you right now. I actually read this recently as well. It's Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. This one destroyed my life for very obvious reasons, and you'll know why as I get into what the plot is about. But it's one of those books that you know is just gonna knock you out with the complete beauty of the book, but also with the depressing and really sad story that it entails. It's literally about two girls losing their father to a plane crash. So obviously that's tough. That's really freaking sad. I knew going into this book that, yeah, this was gonna make me cry, and it definitely did, but it was so worth it. Like, the emotions, I needed to feel things, and this made me feel things. What's interesting about this is that these two sisters don't even know that they exist. They're half sisters, they have two different mothers. Their dad had a double life. He had two different wives. One sister lives in the Dominican Republic, one of them lives in New York. They're Afro-Latina girls. It's so beautiful because it's following a story of these two sisters meeting for the first time and dealing with the grief of their father together and just coming together, and it's just so beautiful. It's also powerfully written. It's written in verse, so every line is poetic and powerful and just amazing and beautiful. Oh my god, that's the key word of this video, is beautiful. But it definitely just leads you down such an emotional roller coaster, and it's just one of the most gorgeous books I've ever read, inside and out. Like, literally I don't even know what that was, but it's just a pretty ass book, okay? So the last book that destroyed me is a super popular book, and I don't care. I just need to talk about it. I feel like we all need to talk about things like this sometimes. I couldn't make this video without talking about the book that has made me cry more than any other book in this universe. Clockwork Princess by Cassandra Clare. I cried for 45 minutes after I finished this book for the first time. I've only read it twice, and both times, absolutely hands down, one of the best books in the freaking world. And I know it's freaking like basic, but I don't care. This book is freaking fabulous, and nobody will ever take that away. Like, I love it so much. I read that epilogue and it was game over. I was dead. There was no reviving me. How was I ever going to read another book again? So this book is actually the third book in the Infernal Devices trilogy. It is a part of the Shadowhunter Chronicles that Cassandra Clare has. If you don't know what to read for Cassandra Clare, and if you don't really know if you ever do want to read something, but you might read one thing by her, I say read the Infernal Devices trilogy. You can read it without reading any of her other books, and it's set in 1800s Victorian England. The plot for this book is honestly the worst thing about the book. Like, the thing that draws people, including me, to this trilogy is the absolutely fantastic characters and the character relationships that they have with one another. It is everything you would ever want and more. Like, you just fall in love with these characters in a way that you just don't do with the average character. Somehow Cassandra Clare really did it in that department. Every character was my baby, other than the freaking bitches, like, you know, the villains. Like, oh my god, I hate you. So by the time you reach the third book in the trilogy, it's that much more traumatic and destroying. It's life ruining because of how many terrible things happen to your characters, your babies. You don't want to see them in pain, but this book is so painful because they're in pain and you don't know how it's gonna end, and then it ends and then you're like, what do I do now? I just will never forget how this series made me feel so completely immersed in the world that I forgot everything else. Like, I was fully involved with this story and the characters. Nothing else mattered when I was reading this trilogy. But it's pretty much about our main character, Tessa Gray. She finds out about Shadowhunters, who are half human, half angels. They kill demons for a living to keep the world safe. One day, Tessa is traveling to London because she wants to reunite with her brother who has been staying there, and she gets kidnapped by these two warlock people. You know, they do magic, like they're bad, they are mean. And she finds out about the supernatural world and how she actually might be a part of it. One day, Will Herondale, our hottie, our god, our man, our legend, our beauty, rescues her from these stupid warlock bitches and takes her to his home where he has a bunch of found family Shadowhunter people. She meets Jem Carstairs as well. Will and Jem are tight. Like, they're best friends. They're brothers at this point. And let's just say Tessa Gray falls in love with both of them. And it is a love triangle, but it's the greatest love triangle of all time because you genuinely love all three of the characters and you can't even decide who you want to end up with who. It should have been a polyamorous relationship at this point, to be honest. Like, I would have been so happy about that. I just will always be dead at the thought of any of these characters. Every time they pop up in Cassandra Clare's other books, it's over. Like, that's the only thing I care about. That's why I probably read those books at this point, because she has another series where it's these characters as parents, and it's the new one that she's doing. There's one book out and I'm just like needing the next one primarily because of all my BBs that are in there. So those are the 6 books that absolutely destroyed my life. Let me know in the comments down below if you have had similar experiences with these books or if you've had it with other books. I would love to know what books have ruined your life in a good way. I mean, it's a weird topic, but it's definitely a thing that happens. I would definitely appreciate it if you liked this video and subscribed and maybe left it a comment. Like, thank you. It would help me. Like, I'd appreciate it. But that's gonna be it for this video today. Thank you guys so much for watching it. Like it, comment down below. Have a good day. Please subscribe. Make sure to follow all my social medias, which are linked down below, and go click the bell button, which is right by the subscribe button, which you should already clicked, and goodbye.